Chosen one, stop everything. Yes, right now. This isn't just another moment in your day. This is a divine interruption, a sacred summons from the heavens that demands your full attention. Picture a radiant scroll unfurling in the sky, your name etched in golden light, shimmering with the promise of a destiny so vast it could shift the course of generations. You've been praying, waiting, wondering when your breakthrough would arrive, when the weight of struggle would lift, when the doors of abundance would swing wide. That moment is here. Heaven has declared it. Huge money, divine provision, overflowing blessings are knocking at your door. But you must claim it now, or risk letting it slip through your fingers forever. This isn't about chance. This is about divine timing. God's plan for your prosperous life is unfolding, and the Creator of the universe is calling you to step boldly into your financial freedom. Will you answer? You've felt the squeeze, haven't you? The late-night worries over bills stacking higher than your hopes, the quiet ache of dreams deferred, the frustration of pouring your heart into work that barely keeps you afloat. Maybe you've stood in grocery lines, calculating what you can afford to leave behind, or stared at your bank account, willing it to stretch further than it ever could. Those moments weren't random. They were divine preparation. Every tear you shed in silence, every prayer whispered in the dark, every time you chose faith over despair. God saw it all. Those struggles weren't meant to break you. They were forging you into a vessel strong enough to carry the wealth creation and divine provision now being released. As it says in Psalm 35, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." Your morning has arrived, chosen one, and with it a spiritual awakening that will transform your faith journey into a prosperous life. This video unveils a unique truth. The fears that once held you back, fear of lack, fear of failure, fear of not being enough, are the very keys to your greatest breakthroughs. Those anxieties you've carried aren't chains. They're signposts pointing to the divine purpose God has woven into your life. Imagine a locked chest buried deep within your soul, its surface worn by years of doubt, but inside, a treasure of abundance, clarity, and overflowing blessings waits to be claimed. The key to that chest isn't more striving or perfection, it's courage. Courage to trust that God's plan for your financial freedom is already in motion. Courage to believe you were chosen for a destiny that includes prosperity. Courage to act now before the window of divine timing closes. Let me share a story that feels like it could be yours. There was a woman named Sarah, a single mother in her late 30s, working 2 jobs in a small town. She'd lie awake at night, her mind racing with worries about rent, her son's school fees, and a dream she'd buried long ago: to start a bakery that could bring joy to her community. She felt trapped, like abundance was a fairy tale for someone else. One day, in a moment of desperation, she prayed, "God, if you're listening, show me a way." That same week, she found an old journal where she'd written her bakery idea years before. Something stirred in her spirit, a nudge to act. She took a small step, baking a batch of cookies for a local event. A stranger tasted one, loved it, and connected her to a catering company. Within months, Sarah's side hustle became a thriving business, and today her bakery employs others in her town. That wasn't luck, it was divine provision meeting her obedience. Like Sarah, you're standing at the edge of your own breakthrough, chosen one. Will you take the step? Now, let's address the urgency. Heaven operates on divine timing, not human schedules. Deuteronomy 28:12 promises, "The Lord will open the heavens, the storehouse of his bounty, to bless all the work of your hands." But this blessing requires alignment. Your faith, your action, your trust. Picture a river of prosperity flowing toward you. Its waters sparkling with opportunities, resources, and divine connection. If you hesitate, if you let fear or doubt build a dam, that river will find another path. This isn't about pressure. It's about partnership with God's plan. The huge money, the divine provision, the wealth creation, they're not myths. They're your inheritance as a chosen one, but you must claim them now with bold faith. To help you step into this prosperous life, I'm giving you 3 specific, practical steps to act on today. First, write one clear financial goal for this week. Something tangible like saving $50, 0 cents, pitching a business idea, or researching a new income stream. Put it on paper and place it where you'll see it daily. Second, call or message someone you trust, a friend, mentor, or family member, and share your vision for abundance. Speaking it aloud makes it real and invites divine connections. Third, start one small project you've delayed, whether it's updating your resume, creating a budget, or launching a side hustle. These steps aren't just tasks, they're prophetic acts that signal to heaven you're ready for your breakthrough. Do them and watch how God moves. If this message is stirring your soul, consider supporting our mission through Super Thanks. Your gift helps us spread the truth of divine provision to more chosen ones, building a community of faith and abundance. Every dollar you give is a seed planted in fertile ground, multiplying blessings for others and yourself. Now imagine this: you standing in a field under a boundless sky, the air alive with possibility. Each step you take plants a seed, and as you move forward, golden stalks of opportunity rise around you, swaying in a breeze that whispers, "You are enough." That's the life God designed for you, not one of scarcity, but of overflow, where your faith journey becomes a testament to personal transformation. Philippians 4:19 assures us, "My God will meet all your needs according to the riches of His glory in Christ Jesus." This isn't just about money, it's about clarity, peace, and purpose flowing into every corner of your life. But what if the fear you're feeling right now, the fear of claiming this promise, of stepping into the unknown, is the very doorway to your divine provision? Chosen one, let's pause for a moment and lean into that question. What if the fear you're holding, the one that whispers you're not ready, not worthy, or that this promise of huge money and divine provision is too big for you, isn't a barrier at all? What if it's a sacred invitation, a divine nudge to step through a doorway that leads to the prosperous life God has always intended for you? Picture that fear as a veil, thin and shimmering, hanging between where you stand now and the radiant destiny waiting just beyond. It's not there to stop you, it's there to be parted, to be walked through with the quiet courage of someone who knows they're chosen. This is your spiritual awakening, a moment where your faith journey transforms fear into fuel for your breakthrough. You've been here before, haven't you? At the edge of something new, something bigger than you've dared to dream. Maybe it was a job you didn't apply for because you thought you weren't qualified, or a passion you shelved because it felt impractical. Those moments of hesitation weren't failures, they were rehearsals, training your spirit to recognize the weight of divine timing. Now, heaven is calling you to act differently. Imagine a riverbank where you've stood for years, watching the waters of abundance flow past, too afraid to step in. Today, God is saying, jump. The current of prosperity isn't here to drown you, it's here to carry you to places you've only seen in your prayers. As Isaiah 43:19 declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" Your perception is shifting, chosen one, and with it the courage to claim what's yours. Let's talk about what huge money really means in God's economy. It's not just dollars piling up in your account. though provision is coming. Checks you didn't expect, opportunities that seem to find you, debts dissolving like morning mist. Divine provision is holistic. It's clarity to make decisions without second-guessing, energy to pursue your calling without burnout, and relationships that pour into your soul rather than drain it. Picture a table set before you, overflowing with not just financial freedom but peace, purpose, and joy. This is the overflow God promises in Malachi 3:10. "Test me in this," says the Lord Almighty, "and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it." That's the life you're stepping into. A life where lack is a distant memory, replaced by a rhythm of abundance that pulses through every choice you make. Now let me share another story to anchor this truth. There was a man named David, a 45-year-old teacher in a struggling school district. He loved his students but felt trapped by a paycheck that barely covered his family's needs. For years he dreamed of creating an online course to teach life skills to teens, but fear of failure kept him stuck. One evening, after a long day, he stumbled across a verse, Joshua 1:9, "Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Something clicked. David took one of the steps we've shared. He started small, filming a short video on his phone and posting it online. A local non-profit saw it, reached out, and funded his course. Today, David's program reaches thousands, and his family's finances have shifted from survival to surplus. His fear didn't disqualify him. It was the spark that ignited his destiny. You too have a spark waiting to catch fire. Let's deepen this. The enemy of your soul wants you to believe that fear is evidence you're not chosen, that your doubts mean you've missed your moment. But that's a lie. Fear is simply the shadow cast by the light of your divine purpose. The brighter your calling, the longer the shadow, but shadows have no substance. They can't stop what God has set in motion. Right now, as you listen, picture a golden thread weaving through your life, connecting every hardship, every closed door, every sleepless night to this very moment. That thread is God's plan, unbroken and unshakable, leading you to a season of wealth creation and personal transformation. Romans 8:28 reminds us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." You are called, and your fears are being reworked into stepping stones. This is where your 3 steps come alive. Writing that financial goal isn't just a task. It's a declaration that you're ready to partner with heaven's vision. Reaching out to someone you trust isn't just a conversation. It's an act of faith that opens divine connections. Starting that delayed project isn't just a to-do. It's a prophetic move that tells the universe you're claiming your place in God's economy. These steps are your yes to the huge money, the divine provision, the prosperous life that's been waiting for you. And here's the beauty. You don't need to see the whole path. Like a lantern glowing in a fog, God gives you just enough light for the next step. Trust that light and the way will open. If this message is igniting your spirit, pause and type, "I am claiming my divine provision" in the comments below. Let heaven see your faith, and let this community of chosen ones rise together in bold expectation. Your declaration isn't just words, it's a signal that you're stepping into your destiny. Now imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind carrying whispers of possibility. Below you, a valley glows with the promise of abundance, fields of opportunity, rivers of resources, cities of impact. The leap feels daunting, but the air itself seems to hold you, as if angels are stationed at your side. That's what it feels like to trust God's plan right now. You're not jumping into the unknown, you're leaping into a story written before you were born. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." That future is unfolding, and every fear you face is a chance to prove that God's promises are stronger than your doubts. Let's talk about the people around you, because your breakthrough isn't just for you, it's for those tied to your purpose. Maybe you're a parent, dreaming of a legacy for your children, or a friend longing to lift others up. Your prosperous life will ripple outward, touching lives you may never meet. Picture a pebble dropped into a still pond, its ripples spreading far beyond the point of impact. That's your obedience right now. Each step you take sends waves of blessing to your family, your community, even strangers who will hear your story. You're not just claiming huge money, you're unlocking a movement of abundance that will outlive you. As 2 Corinthians 9:8 says, "And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." Your abundance has a mission. But what if the biggest obstacle isn't fear, but the voices that try to drown out your calling? The naysayers who say it's too late, the skeptics who question your vision, even the inner critic that replays your past mistakes. Those voices aren't your truth, they're distractions. Imagine a choir of angels singing over you, their voices so powerful they drown out every lie. That's the reality of your life right now. Heaven is louder than doubt. You don't need to argue with critics or prove your worth. Your rise will speak. Your overflow will testify. Your peace will silence every accusation. Keep your eyes on the one who called you and let the noise fade. Now, picture a moment in your future, a day when you look back at this very instant, this video, this message, and smile. You'll see how every fear you faced was a stepping stone, every doubt a catalyst, every step a victory. You'll stand in a life so full of divine provision that the struggles of today feel like distant echoes. That day is coming, chosen one, not because you're perfect, but because you're faithful. You're choosing to trust, to act, to claim what God has promised. And in that choice, miracles are being born. But what if the next step feels impossible, like a mountain you're too weary to climb? What if the promise of huge money seems too far away to grasp? Chosen one, let's linger on that mountain for a moment. The one that looms before you, its peak shrouded in mist, its slopes steep with the weight of your doubts. It feels insurmountable, doesn't it? The promise of huge money, of divine provision, of a prosperous life seems like a star burning brightly in a sky you can't yet reach. But what if that mountain isn't a barrier at all? What if it's a monument carved by God's own hand, designed not to block your path, but to elevate you into the fullness of your destiny? Picture yourself standing at its base, not with trembling knees, but with a spark in your spirit. A quiet knowing that the Creator who called you to this moment has already equipped you to climb. This is your faith journey, and every step up this mountain is a testament to the spiritual awakening unfolding within you. You've faced mountains before. Maybe it was a season of loss, when grief threatened to swallow your hope, or a time when betrayal left you questioning who you could trust. Perhaps it was a dream that crumbled, leaving you to sift through the ashes of what could have been. Those weren't random trials, they were training grounds. Each one taught you resilience, sharpened your discernment, and deepened your reliance on God's plan. Now, as you face this new ascent, you're not the same person who stumbled before. You're stronger, wiser, carrying a fire that no storm can extinguish. Isaiah 40:31 promises, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Your strength is being renewed, chosen one, not by your effort, but by your surrender to the divine purpose pulsing through your life. Let's reframe that mountain. Instead of a towering obstacle, see it as a staircase to your breakthrough. Each step is a choice to trust over worry, to act over hesitation, to believe over doubt. The huge money God has promised isn't waiting at the peak like a distant prize, it's woven into the climb itself. Picture streams of provision trickling down the mountainside, unexpected refunds, new clients, ideas that spark income. Each one a sign that heaven is funding your journey. This isn't about chasing wealth. It's about aligning with the abundance God has already released. Your 3 steps: writing a financial goal, reaching out to a trusted ally, starting that delayed project, are like pitons driven into the rock, anchoring you as you ascend. They're not just actions, they're declarations that you're ready to live a prosperous life. Let me share a story to ground this vision. There was a man named Marcus, a 52-year-old mechanic who'd spent decades fixing cars in a small garage. He loved his work but lived paycheck to paycheck, his dreams of owning his own shop buried under years of not enough. One night, after a particularly tough day, he found himself praying not for money, but for purpose. The next morning, he felt a nudge to clean out his cluttered workspace. As he did, he found an old notebook filled with sketches for custom car designs he'd forgotten about. On a whim, he shared one online, and a local car enthusiast offered to invest. That small act, starting where he was, led to a partnership, and within a year, Marcus opened his own shop, employing others in his community. His mountain wasn't the lack of funds, it was the fear of starting small. Like Marcus, you're being called to take the next step, no matter how modest it seems. God multiplies what you offer in faith. Now let's talk about the air on this mountain, the atmosphere around you as you climb. It's charged with possibility, alive with divine connections waiting to meet you. Picture fellow climbers appearing on the path, mentors with wisdom, partners with resources, friends with encouragement. These aren't random encounters, they're orchestrated by heaven to support your wealth creation. But the air also carries whispers of resistance, old mindsets that say you're climbing alone, that abundance is for others, that you'll fall if you reach too high. Those whispers aren't your truth, they're echoes of a scarcity mindset God is breaking off your life. As you move forward, you're not just climbing, you're shifting the atmosphere, radiating a confidence that draws opportunities like moths to a flame. Ephesians 3:20 says, "Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us." That power is at work in you, chosen one, turning your climb into a testimony. This journey isn't just about you. Your ascent is a beacon for others, your family, your friends, even strangers who will hear your story. Imagine a young woman watching you from below, her own dreams dimmed by doubt. She sees you take one step, then another, claiming your divine provision with every move. Your courage becomes her permission to try. Or picture a child in your life, watching how you trust God's plan. Your faith plants seeds in their future, showing them that a prosperous life is possible. Your breakthrough is generational, rippling through time to touch lives you may never see. As Genesis 12:2 says, "I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing." Your blessing is a bridge for others to cross. Now let's address the weight you might still feel, the lingering question of how. How will this huge money manifest? How will you navigate the uncertainties of this climb? The answer lies in trust, not control. Picture a compass in your hand, its needle steady, pointing not to a destination you can see, but to the one who sees all. God doesn't ask you to map the entire mountain. He asks you to follow the needle, step by step. Your 3 steps are your compass, guiding you through the fog of how into the clarity of divine timing. When you write that goal, you're not just planning, you're prophesying. When you reach out to someone, you're not just networking, you're activating divine alignments. When you start that project, you're not just working, you're co-creating with heaven. These acts of faith dissolve the how and open the floodgates of provision. If this message is stirring your heart, pause and type, "I am climbing my mountain," in the comments below. Let this community of chosen ones see your bold declaration, and let heaven record your commitment to your destiny. Your words are a spark, igniting a fire of faith that will light your path. Now imagine the view from halfway up this mountain. The valley of struggle lies far below, its shadows fading in the light of your progress. Above, the peak glows with promise. New opportunities, financial freedom, a life of overflow. But the real beauty is here, in the climb itself, where every step reveals more of who you are. You're not just a dreamer, you're a doer, a vessel of God's glory, a carrier of His abundance. The fears that once felt like boulders are now pebbles under your feet, crushed by the weight of your faith. You're learning to breathe differently, to move with a rhythm that syncs with heaven's cadence. This is personal transformation in motion, where your soul aligns with the divine purpose you were born to fulfill. But what if the climb gets steeper, the air thinner, the path less certain? What if the promise of divine provision feels like a whisper in a storm? Chosen one, let's stand here for a moment on this steepening slope where the air feels thinner and the storm's howl threatens to drown out the whisper of divine provision. The path ahead seems to blur, the promise of huge money and a prosperous life flickering like a distant flame in the wind. But pause and breathe. This storm isn't your enemy, it's a divine orchestration. A testing ground where your faith journey deepens into unshakable conviction. Picture the clouds parting just enough to reveal a single ray of light, cutting through the chaos to illuminate your next step. That light is God's presence, steady and sure, reminding you that the steeper the climb, the closer you are to your breakthrough. You're not lost in this storm, you're being refined for the wealth creation and personal transformation waiting on the other side. You know this feeling. The moment when doubt creeps in, when the weight of what if feels heavier than the promise of abundance. Maybe it's the memory of a past disappointment, a time when you stepped out in faith only to face a closed door. Or perhaps it's the pressure of the present, the urgent bills, the endless demands, the fear that you're running out of time. Those thoughts aren't accidents. They're invitations to choose. Will you let the storm define you, or will you let God's plan reshape the narrative? Imagine the wind carrying not just chaos, but whispers of truth, each gust reminding you of Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. In this stillness you find clarity, not in having all the answers, but in trusting the one who does. Your spiritual awakening is happening now, in the tension of this moment, as you choose faith over fear. Let's shift the scene. Picture yourself not as a weary climber, but as a warrior, standing firm on this mountain, your feet planted on sacred ground. The storm isn't just above you, it's around you, revealing what's been hidden. The gusts are sweeping away distractions, relationships that drain you, habits that bind you, mindsets that limit you. This is a divine purging, making room for the overflowing blessings God is releasing. Your 3 steps: writing that financial goal, reaching out to a trusted ally, starting that delayed project, are your weapons, not of flesh but of faith. Each one is a strike against the storm, a declaration that you're claiming your divine purpose. These aren't just tasks, they're acts of worship, aligning your heart with heaven's rhythm and opening channels for provision to flow. Let me share a story to light your path. There was a woman named Elena, a 29-year-old graphic designer who felt trapped in a cycle of freelance gigs that barely paid her rent. She dreamed of launching her own design studio, but the fear of failure kept her playing small. One rainy afternoon, feeling defeated, she stumbled across a verse. Proverbs 16:3, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plan." It hit her like a spark. She took a small step, one of the ones we've shared. She wrote down her goal to pitch her studio idea to a local business. With trembling hands, she sent an email. To her shock, they responded, offering a contract that funded her first project. Today, Elena's studio thrives, creating jobs and inspiring others. Her storm didn't stop her, it propelled her into her destiny. Like Elena, you're being called to act even when the winds howl. Your small step could be the key to unlocking financial freedom. Now, let's talk about the provision itself. The huge money God is calling you to claim. This isn't about a single windfall, though unexpected resources are coming. Deposits you didn't anticipate, opportunities that seem to appear from nowhere, connections that shift your trajectory. Divine provision is a flow, a current of abundance that touches every area of your life. Picture a wellspring bubbling up within you, its waters spilling over into your finances, your health, your relationships, your peace. This is what Jesus meant in John 10:10, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." Your full life is here, chosen one, not as a distant hope, but as a present reality you're stepping into with every choice you make. The storm may make you feel alone, but you're not. Imagine a host of angels encircling you, their wings shielding you from the worst of the gale. They're not just protectors, they're messengers, carrying divine instructions to guide your climb. Your 3 steps are part of those instructions, each one a note in a symphony God is composing through your life. When you write that goal, you're harmonizing with heaven's vision. When you reach out to someone, you're inviting new voices into the melody. When you start that project, you're playing a chord that resonates with eternity. These acts aren't isolated. They're part of a divine score, orchestrating your prosperous life. If this message is stirring your soul, pause and type, "I am rising through the storm," in the comments below. Let this community of chosen ones witness your faith, and let heaven amplify your declaration. Your words are a beacon, calling in the provision God has promised. Now, picture the storm beginning to quiet, not because the winds have stopped, but because your spirit has grown louder. You're no longer just surviving the climb, you're commanding it. The path is still steep, but your steps are surer, your vision clearer. You're starting to see glimpses of the summit. Not just financial freedom, but a life of impact, where your abundance becomes a lifeline for others. Imagine a village at the mountain's peak, its homes glowing with warmth, its people thriving because you dared to climb. That's the legacy you're building, chosen one, not just for yourself, but for those who will follow your example. As Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Your harvest is near, and it's greater than you've imagined. But let's be real, the storm can still feel overwhelming. The demands of daily life, the pressure to perform, the temptation to retreat to what's familiar, they're all part of the climb. Yet, these challenges aren't here to defeat you. They're here to reveal the strength you didn't know you had. Picture a diamond formed under crushing pressure. its brilliance born from the very forces that tried to break it. That's you right now, chosen one, a gem of God's design, shining brighter because of the storm. Your faith, tested in the winds, is becoming a testimony that will draw others to the light of divine purpose. Now imagine a moment when you pause on this mountain, catching your breath, and look back. The valley below is a map of your journey, every trial, every tear, every triumph. You see how far you've come, not by your own power, but by the grace that carried you. The huge money, the divine provision, the prosperous life, they're not just rewards, they're tools, entrusted to you to build something eternal. You're not climbing for yourself alone. You're blazing a trail for others, showing them that fear can't stop what God has started. Your story is becoming a lighthouse, guiding those lost in their own storms to the safety of faith. But what if the summit feels too far, the storm too fierce, the promise of abundance too fragile to hold? What if the next step is the one that changes everything? Chosen one, let's hold that question close, standing here on this windswept slope where the summit seems a distant glow and the storm's roar tests the edges of your resolve. The promise of huge money, of divine provision, feels like a delicate thread in your hands, fragile against the gale of uncertainty. But what if that thread is stronger than steel, woven from the very fabric of God's plan, unbreakable because it was spun in eternity? Picture it shimmering in your grasp, not as a fleeting hope, but as a lifeline, tethering you to a destiny so vast it could reshape your world. This is your spiritual awakening, where the storm doesn't dictate your path, it reveals it. The next step, the one that feels so daunting, might just be the pivot that ushers you into the prosperous life you were born to claim. You've carried questions like this before, haven't you? Moments when the weight of what if felt like a boulder on your chest, when the gap between your reality and your dreams seemed too wide to bridge. Maybe it was a time when you stood at a crossroads, torn between safety and risk, or a season when you poured everything into a hope that didn't bloom. Those weren't dead ends, they were divine detours, rerouting you to this exact moment. Each question, each pause, each unanswered prayer was a brushstroke in a masterpiece God is painting through your life. Now, as the storm swirls, you're not just a weary traveler. You're an artist, co-creating with the Creator, turning doubt into a canvas for your breakthrough. As Romans 15:13 says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." That hope is rising in you, chosen one, fueling your climb toward financial freedom. Let's reimagine this storm. Instead of a force to fight, see it as a divine wind carrying seeds of opportunity that will take root in your life. Picture those seeds scattering across the mountain. Ideas for new ventures, connections that spark growth, moments of clarity that shift your perspective. Your 3 steps: writing that financial goal, reaching out to a trusted ally, starting that delayed project, are the soil where these seeds will grow. They're not just actions, they're sacred rituals, preparing the ground for wealth creation to flourish. When you write that goal, you're planting a vision that heaven will water. When you reach out, you're sowing trust that will yield divine alignments. When you start that project, you're cultivating a harvest of abundance. These steps are your partnership with God's promise, and the storm is only clearing the way for what's to come. Let me share a story to anchor this truth. There was a man named Aisha, a 34-year-old nurse who felt stuck in a demanding job that left little room for her true passion, writing poetry that uplifted others. She'd scribble verses on napkins during breaks, but fear of rejection kept her from sharing them. One evening, exhausted and questioning her purpose, she prayed, "God, show me if this dream matters." The next day, she felt a nudge to take one of the steps we've shared. She reached out to a friend who ran a local bookstore. Hesitantly, she shared a poem. Her friend was moved and invited Aisha to read at an open mic night. That night, a publisher in the audience heard her words and offered to print her first collection. Today, Aisha's poetry touches thousands, and the income from her book sales has given her the freedom to work less and write more. Her storm of self-doubt didn't silence her, it amplified her voice. Like Aisha, you're being called to act, even when the path feels unclear. Your next step could be the spark that lights up your destiny. Now, let's talk about the summit. Not as a far-off goal, but as a state of being you're already entering. The huge money, the divine provision, the prosperous life, they're not just at the peak, they're in the air you're breathing, the choices you're making, the faith you're wielding. Picture the summit as a vast plateau, stretching wide with fields of possibility. Businesses you'll start, communities you'll uplift, dreams you'll fund. But this plateau isn't empty. It's alive with people who need your light, who are waiting for the overflow of your blessings. Your climb isn't just about reaching abundance. It's about becoming a conduit for it, a vessel through which God's generosity flows. As Luke 6:38 says, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." Your giving, whether time, talent, or trust, is opening the floodgates of provision. The storm may try to shake you, but it's also revealing your resilience. Imagine standing tall on this mountain, your silhouette glowing against the dark clouds, a beacon of hope for those still in the valley. You're not just climbing, you're becoming a signpost pointing others to the truth that God's plan prevails over every obstacle. Your 3 steps are your testimony, each one a story of obedience that will inspire others to take their own. When you write that goal, you're showing someone it's never too late to dream. When you reach out, you're teaching someone the power of community. When you start that project, you're proving that small beginnings lead to great harvests. Your life is a living sermon, preaching the gospel of possibility to a world hungry for hope. Now, let's address the voices in the storm. Not just the external critics, but the internal ones that whisper you're not enough. Those voices may point to your past, missed opportunities, financial mistakes, moments when you settled for less. But those aren't your story. They're your setup. Picture a tapestry, its threads woven from every choice you've made, every hardship you've endured. The dark strands of struggle are as vital as the golden ones of triumph, creating a pattern only God could design. Your past isn't a chain, it's a foundation, grounding you for the wealth creation and personal transformation now unfolding. As Psalm 139:16 says, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." Your days, chosen one, are ordained, and no storm can erase what God has written. If this message is igniting your spirit, pause and type, "I am woven for greatness" in the comments below. Let this community of chosen ones see your bold faith, and let heaven amplify your declaration. Your words are a spark, setting ablaze the promise of your divine purpose. Now imagine the storm softening, not because the clouds have parted, but because your heart has grown bolder. You're starting to hear a new sound, a melody rising above the wind, a song of victory that's been yours all along. This is the rhythm of your prosperous life, a cadence that syncs your steps with heaven's timing. You're not just surviving the climb, you're dancing through it, moving with a grace that defies the chaos. The huge money, the divine provision, the overflowing blessings, they're not just rewards, they're resources, entrusted to you to build something that outlives you. Picture a legacy. A school you fund, a business you launch, a movement you inspire, its impact echoing through generations. That's the life God is calling you to, chosen one, and every step you take is a note in its anthem. But what if the melody feels faint, drowned out by the storm's persistent roar? What if the next step requires a courage you're not sure you have? Chosen one, let's stand still for a moment in this storm, where the melody of your prosperous life feels like a faint whisper against the roar of uncertainty. That courage you're searching for, the one that seems just out of reach as you face the next step, picture it not as something you lack, but as a fire already kindled within you, waiting for a single breath of faith to blaze. Imagine a lantern glowing in your chest, its light pulsing with the rhythm of God's plan, illuminating the path even when the winds howl and the summit feels distant. This isn't about mustering strength you don't have. It's about recognizing the divine purpose already woven into your being. The huge money, the divine provision, the wealth creation, they're not waiting for you to become someone else. They're waiting for you to embrace who you already are, chosen, equipped, and ready for this spiritual awakening. You've heard that faint melody before, haven't you? In quiet moments when a dream stirred your soul, or when a sudden peace settled over you despite the chaos. Maybe it was a fleeting thought during a sleepless night, a vision of a life where lack no longer defines you, where abundance flows as naturally as breath. Those weren't fantasies. They were echoes of your destiny, reverberating through the chambers of your heart. The storm may be loud, but it's not your master. Picture it as a sculptor's chisel, shaping you into a vessel strong enough to carry the overflowing blessings God is releasing. Your faith journey isn't about escaping the storm. It's about learning to dance in it, letting its winds lift you higher. As Hebrews 12:1 says, "Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." Your race is marked, chosen one, and every step is leading you to a breakthrough. Let's reframe the courage you need. It's not about fearless bravado, it's about faithful obedience. Picture a small boat on a turbulent sea, its captain steering not by the size of the waves, but by the stars above. Your 3 steps. Writing that financial goal, reaching out to a trusted ally, starting that delayed project. Are your stars guiding you through the storm? They're not grand gestures, they're deliberate choices, each one a prayer in action, aligning you with the divine provision already in motion. When you write that goal, you're charting a course for abundance. When you reach out, you're casting a net for divine connections. When you start that project, you're hoisting a sail to catch heaven's wind. These steps are your courage made tangible, proof that you're ready to claim the prosperous life God has promised. Let me share a story to light this truth. There was a woman named Lila, a 41-year-old librarian who lived paycheck to paycheck, her dream of opening a community reading center buried under years of not yet. The fear of stepping out kept her tethered to routine, but one Sunday, a sermon on Matthew 25:21, "Well done, good and faithful servant," stirred her. She felt a nudge to take one of the steps we've shared. She wrote down her goal to start a small book club. With no budget, she began with free library space and a handful of donated books. A local teacher joined, then shared the idea with a grant writer who secured funding.